All right, folks, buckle up because tonight we're diving headfirst into the US-China trade war. This isn't just a simple disagreement over goods and services. It's a complex and multifaceted conflict that has been brewing for decades. It's a story about two economic titans, each with their own baggage, vying for global dominance. On one side, we have the United States, a country that has long been the poster child for free market capitalism. On the other, China, a nation that has rapidly ascended the global economic ladder, blending elements of communism and capitalism in a unique and often controversial mix. Think of it as a heavyweight boxing match, but instead of punches, they're throwing tariffs at each other. These tariffs are essentially taxes on imports, designed to make foreign goods more expensive and less attractive to consumers. But in this match, the stakes are much higher than just the price of goods. First, let's rewind a bit. To understand the current situation, we need to look at the historical context that led us here. China, once a land of bicycles and rice paddies, transformed itself into the world's factory floor. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It was the result of decades of economic reforms and opening up to foreign investment, which began in the late 1970s under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping. They embraced capitalism, sort of, and became the go-to destination for cheap labor and mass production. This shift turned China into an economic powerhouse, capable of producing goods at a scale and cost that few other countries could match. Meanwhile, the United States, the reigning champion of capitalism, started seeing its manufacturing base shrink. Factories that once buzzed with activity were now silent, and towns that had thrived on manufacturing were left struggling. Jobs were lost, factories closed, and suddenly, made in China was everywhere. American consumers enjoyed the lower prices, but the cost was felt in the loss of domestic jobs and industries. This didn't sit well with everyone. Many Americans felt that their livelihoods were being sacrificed for the sake of cheaper goods. Protests erupted, and the issue became a hot topic in political debates. The United States argued that China wasn't playing fair. They claimed that China's economic practices were not just aggressive but also unfair and detrimental to the global trading system. They pointed fingers at intellectual property theft, forced technology transfers, and currency manipulation. These practices, they argued, gave China an unfair advantage and hurt American businesses and workers. Basically, the United States felt like China was cheating its way to the top. This perception fueled a series of trade disputes and negotiations, each side trying to outmaneuver the other in a high-stakes game of economic chess. The outcome of this ongoing conflict will shape the future of global trade and economic relations for years to come. Now, trade between the United States and China isn't exactly new. They've been doing business for decades, but the relationship has always been a bit, shall we say, complicated. It's like that couple everyone knows is going to break up, but they just keep going back for more. Over the years, the United States tried different tactics to address its concerns. They filed complaints with the World Trade Organization, imposed some tariffs here and there, but nothing seemed to really stick. China, on the other hand, argued that it was just playing the game by its own rules. The tension was building, like a pot of water about to boil over. And then, in 2018, it finally happened. Enter Donald Trump, the self-proclaimed tariff man. In 2018, his administration slapped tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, from solar panels to washing machines. The goal? To protect American jobs and force China to change its ways. China, not one to back down from a fight, retaliated with tariffs of its own on American goods like soybeans and pork. And so began the trade war, a tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs that left economists scratching their heads and businesses caught in the crossfire. But this wasn't just about soybeans and washing machines, folks. This trade war was about something much bigger: technological dominance. In one corner, you have the United States, home to tech giants like Apple, Google, and Amazon. In the other corner, you have China, with its own tech champions like Huawei, Alibaba, and Tencent. Both countries know that whoever controls the technologies of the future, artificial intelligence, 5G, quantum computing, will have a huge advantage in the global economy. So the trade war spilled over into the tech world, with the United States blacklisting Chinese companies like Huawei, accusing them of espionage and posing national security risks. China, in turn, accused the United States of trying to stifle its technological rise. Section 5. The price we pay, consumers caught in the crossfire. Now you might be thinking, John, this is all very interesting, but how does it affect me, a humble consumer of goods and services? Well, my friend, let me tell you, this trade war has real-world consequences for all of us. Remember those tariffs we talked about, those extra taxes on imported goods? Yeah, those get passed down to you and me in the form of higher prices. So that new phone you've been eyeing, it just got more expensive. And that's not all. The trade war has also created uncertainty in the global economy, which can lead to slower growth and even job losses. Section 6. Jobs on the line, winners and losers in the trade war. Speaking of jobs, the trade war has created both winners and losers. Some American industries like steel and aluminum have benefited from the tariffs, as they face less competition from Chinese imports. This has led to job creation in those sectors, but other industries like agriculture have been hit hard by Chinese retaliatory tariffs. American farmers who rely on exporting their products to China have seen their incomes plummet, and some businesses have had to lay off workers because of the increased costs associated with the tariffs. Section 7. The innovation dilemma, collaboration versus competition. The trade war has also raised questions about the future of innovation. On the one hand, competition between the US and China could lead to breakthroughs in technology and other fields. After all, nothing motivates like a little rivalry, right? But on the other hand, the current climate of distrust and hostility could make it harder for researchers and companies from both countries to collaborate. And that could slow down progress in areas like medicine, energy, and climate change, which require global cooperation. Section 8. Biden's Balancing Act, navigating a complex relationship. So, where do things stand now? The relationship between the United States and China is one of the most complex and consequential in the world today. It affects not just the two countries involved, but the entire global community. Well, Joe Biden is in the White House, and he's inherited this messy trade war from his predecessor. The trade war has led to tariffs on billions of dollars worth of goods, affecting industries and consumers on both sides of the Pacific. He's promised to take a tougher stance on China than previous administrations, emphasizing the need to address issues like intellectual property theft, unfair trade practices, and human rights abuses. But he's also acknowledged the need for cooperation on issues like climate change and nuclear proliferation. These are global challenges that require collaboration, not confrontation. The Biden administration has kept most of the Trump-era tariffs in place, arguing that they provide leverage in negotiations with China. These tariffs have been a point of contention, impacting everything from agriculture to technology. Arguing that they provide leverage in negotiations with China, the administration believes that maintaining these tariffs can help bring China to the negotiating table. But they've also signaled a willingness to engage in dialogue and find areas of common ground. This approach aims to balance competition with cooperation, seeking a more stable and predictable relationship. It's a delicate balancing act, folks. Navigating this relationship requires a nuanced approach, one that considers both the competitive and cooperative aspects. The US and China are both economic powerhouses with their own interests and ambitions. Their economic policies and actions have far-reaching implications for global markets and international trade. They're going to compete, sometimes fiercely, on the global stage. This competition can drive innovation and growth, but it also carries risks of conflict and instability. The key is to manage this competition responsibly, finding ways to collaborate on shared challenges while standing firm on core principles and values. In the end, the relationship between the US and China will shape the future of the global order. It's a relationship that demands careful navigation, strategic thinking, and a commitment to both national interests and global stability. Section 9. A trade war or just competition? The debate rages on. So, is this a trade war or just tough competition? This question has sparked intense debates across various sectors. It's a question that has divided economists, policymakers, and everyday citizens. The stakes are high and opinions are deeply entrenched. Some argue that the trade war was necessary to protect American jobs and intellectual property. They believe that without these measures, the US would be at a significant disadvantage. The goal, they say, is to force China to play by the rules, ensuring a level playing field for all. Others contend that the tariffs have backfired, causing more harm than good. They point to the empty shelves in American stores and the rising costs of everyday goods. These critics argue that the tariffs are hurting American businesses and consumers, leading to higher prices and reduced economic activity. They believe that there are more effective ways to address concerns about China's trade practices, such as through international cooperation and negotiation. The debate rages on, folks, with no easy answers in sight. Both sides present compelling arguments, making it difficult to reach a consensus. One thing is for sure, the relationship between the US and China will continue to shape the global economy. This dynamic interaction influences trade policies, market trends, and economic stability worldwide, and the geopolitical landscape for years to come. The decisions made today will have long-lasting impacts on future generations, and it's a relationship that we all need to pay attention to, because it affects us all. From the prices we pay at the store to the job opportunities available, the US-China relationship is a critical factor. As global citizens, understanding this complex relationship helps us navigate the interconnected world we live in. It's not just about economics, it's about our shared future.